Hello and welcome once again to Smooth Traffic. This is episode 13, a number that's unlucky for some, but not for Robert King or Benny Pierce, who are with me once again. Hello, boys.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about some motoring-based things. In this, we've got some Honda Jazz impressions. We've got the Australian GP recap. We've got some more additions to the 5-car garage. My forfeit, which I'm really not looking forward to, and some other bits and bobs. Right then, well, as you chaps know, I recently had a Honda Jazz for a week to check out, to see how it is. And, I've got some thoughts on the Honda Jazz. It's not really my cup of tea, if I'm honest. Put it this way, I recently saw one reviewer say it was quite a modern sort of upbeat car. And I really did not find that to be the case, actually. Looks-wise, looks quite modern. I really like the dash layout in the interior. Really nice stuff. But there's a lot wrong with it, and there's a couple of reasons why it's not modern. And the first thing I want to get into is the engine. It's a 1.3 litre, normally aspirated engine, a bit like what you just get in cars 10, 15 years ago, normal sort of basic car engine. No turbos, no supercharging, nothing particularly fancy. Honda will tell you different. They'll probably tell you it's a very special engine. It's not really. It's just an ordinary 1.3 4-cylinder petrol. And the car can look as modern as it likes, but once you start driving with that engine, it immediately feels old-fashioned. And I can only think they'll have done this for a reason, and that is to please the existing buyers of the Jazz, who may trade in their current last generation Jazz, because that's more than likely what they do, and it's to sort of please them, so it doesn't feel too modern, because I think a lot of older folk would not be particularly enthused by the idea of a turbocharger. I think they'd be slightly worried by that. I think they might have slightly outdated sort of views on it, with like, ooh, turbocharged, doesn't that mean I'll roll upside down into a tree? I kind of think that's why they must have done it. That's the only reason I can think of, because it feels really old. It's not particularly economical. And it's really quite noisy on the motorway as well. I did do a pretty long drive in the Jazz, and I found it to be quite noisy, quite uncomfortable. And the engine really does need working to get any sort of power or speed out of it, because without that turbo that nearly all modern engines have, it's just really difficult to use. I really didn't get on with it that well. There are pluses in favour of the Jazz. The way the seats fold and the amount of space in the Jazz is very impressive, and it's by no means a terrible car, but it's one that just isn't for me. And especially the automatic. If you get a chance to drive the automatic, you'll see why. But the automatic gearbox in particular is poor. All it seems to do is make the car noisier for a bit. That's about all it does, to me anyway, when I drove it. Luckily the one I had on test was manual, and that's definitely the one to have. But yeah, not my cup of tea, I'm afraid, Honda. I think you need to do some work on modernising the Jazz a bit if you're really keen on selling it to younger people, because with that engine and with that automatic gearbox, I can't see it being that successful despite the very clever storage options.
Do you think, though, that it's perfectly designed? Because they might well just be aiming at a completely different market. And if they are aiming for older people, then actually have they arguably done a very good job of it?
Possibly. Well, Honda will tell you they're trying to aim it more towards the younger people, but I just don't buy that. I just don't buy it. It looks more modern, but painting a car orange or yellow doesn't make it appeal to younger people, because younger people really, I mean, you don't want to stand out that much. Not in a Jazz. It works in some cars like Minis or the Vauxhall Adam. It kind of works quite well in, but in a Jazz it just doesn't work.
I agree with you on the Jazz in terms of colouring. Obviously you see, like you get your Focus RS, your Focus ST, things like that. They're available in loud, boorish colours, but that's because they're loud, boorish cars, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Whereas the Honda Jazz isn't that kind of car.
No. The Jazz I had on test was a couple of £100 over 17 grand, if I remember right, which is quite a lot of money. And actually, there's a few other cars that are a bit more fun to drive, I would say. Volkswagen Up, definitely more fun. My favourite city car. Ford Fiesta. You could look at a Ford Fiesta for that kind of money. Much more fun to drive again. The 1 litre EcoBoost engine in that is really, really good. Modern engine, won loads of awards. Fantastic for economy and performance. And Suzuki Swift as well. Now, Suzuki Swift is not really a city car, but it's a very good handling car. And though it's maybe showing its age a bit now. It's much, much cheaper than the 17 grand you'd pay for my particular Jazz. You can get a Jazz cheaper than that. So I'd say have a look at those three if you're really keen on buying a small car, because I think you might find you have more fun in those than you would in the Jazz. So yeah, I'm sorry Honda, the Jazz isn't for me. There are ways to make it better, I'm sure of it. Add a turbo in there. Modernise that engine, modernise the feel of the car a little bit, but at the moment, it's not quite the car you're claiming it to be.
You say, that, Johnny, that they're aiming for younger people. Do you think maybe you're just a bit over the hill?
I feel over the hill. I definitely feel over the hill. Well, obviously the biggest news was the return of Formula 1 with the 2016 Rolex, because they like nice watches, Australian Grand Prix. So I thought we'd do a bit of a recap here. If this is a success, I might even turn this into a spin-off. Let's see how it goes. So, chaps, did you see the Grand Prix?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Excellent. That's good. Right. Well, let's talk about the first major talking point of this Grand Prix then. Qualifying. What a mess.
Atrocious.
Absolutely atrocious. I'm not going to go into it in detail because it's been raked over plenty enough already by all the pundits and the people who are real experts. But I will tell you what F1 legend and Mercedes F1's chief grumpy grandad Niki Lauda said about it. He said qualifying was, and I quote, like digging in a toilet. Seb Vettel, the cheeky little scamp, 4-time world champion at Ferrari, had less to say. He just called it shit. So that says all you need to know. It's funny because Claire Williams on the new Channel 4 F1 show mentioned that the changes to qualifying were brought on by F1 trying to show that they were listening to the fans. I don't remember any fans actually asking for a change of qualifying. So all she's done there is really point out how F1 doesn't listen to the fans. Well done, Claire.
Whoops.
Anyway, yeah, whoops indeed. Moving on to the race. The race was actually pretty good. I thought it was pretty good, Kingy.
Exceptional.
Eventful.
Eventful, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. The first talking point, I would say, was the start.
Oof, yeah.
Yes, Hamilton beaten off the line considerably, actually, by most people. I think he was down in 6th by the end of turn 2 or something, wasn't he?
The main thing that stood out to me, obviously, Vettel getting a fantastic start. A lot was made of the fact that Lewis had got wheel spin when changing from first to second.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody made a point about the fact that Vettel also shot past Rosberg.
Yeah.
Who similarly got past Lewis, so obviously didn't have a bad start. They were just saying what bad luck Hamilton had off the line.
Oh, they always do, though.
I don't think Vettel got enough praise for the start.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think Ferrari got enough praise for putting together a car that could do that straight off the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, Raikkonen was up and around as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Vettel made the hole, and Kimi just went straight in behind, followed him through. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that was a 10 out of 10 start from Sebastian Vettel. Fantastic start. The talk was about sort of Mercedes looking good, and everyone expected them to sort of run away with it again. But I didn't think they really did, actually, and it was very encouraging to see that wasn't the case. And really, they only actually won the Grand Prix because of another sort of glaring error in strategy from Ferrari. They were really unlucky to lose Kimi, which looked like some kind of engine problem, which is bad news for the rest of the season. But it turned his car into kind of a red version of Robot Wars' Sergeant Bash. And you could say, really, if it wasn't for Alonso's mega crash, we'll expand on that in a bit, they might have actually won the race, but we'll never know for sure now.
no, that's true. But I mean, going back to Mercedes, obviously Hamilton was struggling to keep up with Verstappen.
How encouraging is that? I thought Max Verstappen looked absolutely brilliant.
I thought he had a good race. I'll be intrigued to see how they deal with his, I don't want to say attitude, because he didn't have a bad attitude, but after the race, he said he was disappointed with the car. And I thought that was a very odd thing to say, when obviously he was just disappointed about the fact that the team wouldn't let him get in front of Sainz.
Yeah, I think the team made kind of a mistake in not giving him priority at the pit stops, because he definitely should have had priority. The thing I can't get my head around with Max Verstappen is that this guy is just 18 years old. He's 18 years old and he can drive a Formula 1 car like that. It's just incredible. I thought he was a bit unlucky, and the way he was just absolutely bloody fuming about everything for most of the race was I just thought really entertaining. Really, I really liked hearing the passion and the drive from Verstappen, and it's nice to see someone with a little bit more fire and a little bit more absolute determination to try and do something, even just to grab an extra point towards the lower end of the point scale there. I'm with you. I'd like him to stop sort of whinging about being stuck behind people. Just bloody well go for it. He's got the talent.
That'll probably come with age, though.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how good he'll be in just 3 years' time, for example, when he's 21. He's got an incredible future ahead of him. By the way, don't Toro Rosso look really, really good?
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
They got bogged down towards the end of the race. But yeah, no, I thought they were, just as competitive as Mercedes, certainly.
Yeah. I'm dead impressed by Toro Rosso. They could do some real damage to people's title hopes this year, I think, if they have some good Grand Prix. Talking of good Grand Prix, Haas. Good start.
Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, good start. 6th place for Romain Grosjean, I believe. That's pretty good. That's a few points for Ferrari's C team. And Gutierrez was unlucky to be taken out by Alonso in the horror crash.
Yes, he was. Again, at that point, I mean, Alonso was having a fairly decent race by McLaren standards. Jensen, slightly disappointing, I suppose, but 14th. It's not the worst result that McLaren have had in the last 12 months.
Exactly. I think Renault and McLaren both did okay, actually, considering where they kind of are in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, McLaren qualified exceptionally.
Yeah, they did good. It's encouraging. I still stand by my prediction of Alonso quitting before the end of the season, but
not for health reasons.
Not for health reasons, thank God. What a crash that was. That's one of the worst I've seen in a long time. And Alonso said that's the worst crash he's ever had. And Alonso's had some absolutely horrendous incidents. One at Interlagos springs to mind when he was at Renault. Peak G-force in that accident. I made a note of the peak G-force that he had in that accident. Any guesses what peak G-force was?
5.
46.
46G, yeah.
He was conscious as well, wasn't he? When
he was. Yeah, at one point in the accident, he was having 46G, which is incredible, really. We're very, very lucky we didn't see a fatal accident on Sunday, and I'm really pleased he managed to get straight out of the car. It does make you wonder, though, if the halo device would have been a hindrance when it comes to climbing out, because what happens if a driver can't get out of his car quick enough? Like, if there's a fire? There's an awful lot of electrical current in these hybrid F1 cars now, so it does make you wonder if that's a downside to the halo. Andrew Benson wrote about it on the BBC Sport website just the other day, and apparently it's not a problem. Jenson Button actually thinks it would have helped Fernando in that kind of accident. Maybe it would have, but I think the questions still need to be answered. What happens if a driver needs to get out of the car quickly?
Yeah, I mean, it depends obviously exactly what the halo device is going to end up really looking like, because obviously there have been a few imaginings, shall we say, and obviously Ferrari did do some testing with the with a halo device, didn't they?
Yes, yeah.
But I think it was Red Bull who had come up with a design which was basically like having almost a mini windscreen. So there wasn't anything immediately in front of the driver sort of blocking the view. All right, it'll stop. Well, theoretically, it will help to prevent debris flying across and hitting drivers in the face, on the head, etc. But yeah, if it's going to be a hindrance for them to get out of the car, worst case scenario, I know we haven't seen a car explode in quite some time, balls of flames. But if that were the case, will the halo device still mean that a driver can get out of the car in time? You know, a fireproof suit, I mean, that's not...
It doesn't last very long.
No,
it's
exactly.
fireproof to some extent, isn't it? But
exactly.
You wouldn't want to be in a ball of flames in it.
No.
So I suppose the question is, how quickly can you remove the device and get out, and also can you do it when injured? Because if you've broken an arm or something, then you need to be able to still remove it and get out of the car quickly, don't you? So you need to be able to do it unaided.
Yeah, I mean, even if Alonso had, sort of broken an arm or something, that's going to severely hinder his ability to get out of the car, let alone the time it's going to take him to get out of the car. I mean, they already have to remove the steering wheel or whatever, but if you've got to remove a larger device around you and you've only got one arm free...
I just don't know how exactly the halo device is meant to come off, because it has to stand forces in the tests that are incredibly strong. I think they fire a full wheel at 200 miles an hour at it to test it, which is, I think it's about 20-25 kilograms a wheel. Really quite a significant chunk at a very high speed. So if the driver is able to just push it out, I don't think it's that simple. I think they must have to use some sort of tool or switch to be able to take it out. And if the car's been damaged that much, does that mean you wouldn't be able to actually do that? I mean, looking at the wreck of Alonso's car after that accident, there wasn't actually much left of that car. Most of that car had been completely destroyed. So if it was something that involved a system to actually pop it out, there's no guarantee it would actually work. And then you'd have to have a manual override. And like you say, if the driver had broken an arm or both arms, and it is perfectly normal for a driver's arms to come out of an open cockpit. It has happened before. It does. It raises some interesting questions, and the debate needs to be had, really. I mean, whatever happens, the FIA ultimately have the last decision, and they can force it through whatever, providing they can do basic health and safety checks. But they have the last word, so they don't actually have to answer these questions. But I think people need to think about it, at least, because I mean, there is a possibility that a driver could be trapped in a car when you really don't need to be trapped in a car. Where do you draw the line with safety? I mean, you should always be pursuing safety in Formula 1, but motorsport is a dangerous thing to do in its very own nature. You know, you can't make it 100% safe. You just can't. So where do you actually stop and say, okay, this changes things? You know, where do you say, okay, we're going to leave the gravel on that corner. We're going to leave the grass on the outside there, because as you see, like places like Monza, it just ruins it. Turning the last corner at Monza into a car park has completely ruined Monza. That last bit, as far as I'm concerned, they'll do it around the whole place eventually, and everyone will be racing in car parks. So I think the line has to be drawn somewhere. Motorsport is dangerous, and people need to get over it. These guys do it for a reason, and it's because they love it.
Yeah, Parabolica is a good example at Monza, but I think this is one of the inherent problems with Formula 1, that although it needs to try and be proactive in safety, it's very difficult to be proactive, because you can't take every single possibility into consideration, because otherwise you'd never get the cars off the grid. Formula 1, safety-wise, I think will always be a reactive sport, unfortunately. And, you know, you get the situations like Senna, Bianchi, but then, you know, on the flip side, you've got the Alonso crash. You've got Michael Schumacher when he obviously had his high-speed crash all those years ago. You know, people can walk away from these unscathed because of the extent to which safety has become such a primary concern. But yeah, you've got to strike that fine balance between safety and the thrill of motorsport, really.
And actually, speaking of the issues in Formula 1 and the thrill of the motorsport, the F1 drivers, the Grand Prix Drivers Association, actually wrote a letter basically outlining their complete disenchantment with the way things are going. Alex Wirtz said in the letter, actually, this is a little quotation for you: "The business model and the way F1 is run needs to be addressed and redefined, followed by a clear roadmap or master plan." These guys are really not impressed with how F1 is being run and how the decisions are being made. Even Bernie Ecclestone doesn't like Formula 1 anymore. If Bernie doesn't like it, surely people would be trying hard to change it. The way I see it is that Formula 1 is, and a lot of the old drivers talk about this, Formula 1 has always been at the forefront of technology. I think that needs to change, because actually the forefront of technology now is in endurance racing in LMP1. That's where the forefront of technology is. That's where the closed cockpits are. That's where all the complicated hybrid technology and efficient engines are going. Formula 1 doesn't need to be that. Formula 1 doesn't have to be the technological edge. It needs to be the absolute test of the best drivers in the world. That's all it needs to be. So you have to make the cars a bit more simple to do that. That's absolutely fine by me. Leave the technology and the advancements with endurance racing and LMP1 and the World Endurance Championships. Let Formula 1 be what it should be, which is an absolute test of a driver's skill and determination. That's all it needs to be. If you can do that, you'll have a successful product on your hands again. And don't bloody leave out the Italian Grand Prix either. Right, well, we've got some announcements for Smooth Traffic, actually, some quite exciting stuff that's been happening recently. You may have noticed that we've started to publish some videos on our YouTube channel. The Smooth Traffic channel is just starting to get going, so we've introduced a few videos there from Forza Motorsport 6 most recently on the Xbox One. It's also where we posted Kingy's Boot Space Challenge, which was fun.
More to follow.
And yeah, more to follow. And it's where we'll be posting future videos as well. So we don't have a Smooth Traffic channel address yet, because we have to have 100 subscribers to do that. So please, if you visit the page, subscribe, then we can give you an actual address to enjoy it. But that actually ties us into the next announcement, which is the Smooth Traffic website. The Smooth Traffic website is coming very soon. We've begun working on it already. It's mostly going to be a sort of small blog, photo gallery, helpful linky place to get you around kind of the smooth traffic content that we're making. There'll be some pictures of things we get up to, links to our videos, links to the episodes, which make it a bit easier for you. And when we see things we think are worth sharing, we'll pop it on there and share it. We don't really have a huge plan for it, but we think it's going to be quite good fun anyway. One more announcement as well. Dean Betterson, you'll be very pleased about this, Dean from Twitter, because I'll be driving the new Ford Focus RS early next month at Silverstone. It's going to be a fantastic day, I'm sure. Really looking forward to putting that to the test because, as you probably already know if you've been listening, I'm a big fan of the Honda Civic Type R, which is the RS's main rival. So I really can't wait to get to grips with the RS and see if it can take on the Civic Type R for the Super Hatch crown. Right, well, as you know, we have the very special Smooth Traffic 5-car garage. And on that subject, we have a couple of announcements to make. Kingy, hit me with some Smooth Traffic 5-car garage announcements.
Thank you, John. Well, first off, in the last episode, we discussed the perfect car to take your five-a-side football team to a game in. Obviously, we couldn't come to a decision, so we put out a poll on Twitter, and the result was an absolute dead heat between all three vehicles.
Yes.
Amazingly, they all got the same number of votes. It was looking like, John, you had absolutely no chance whatsoever, but then you put out a cheeky little tweet the last day of the poll, which happened to take advantage of a rather popular hashtag that was knocking around at that point, and you just insisted that anyone following said hashtag should vote for your vehicle. And lo and behold, you got enough votes to make it a dead heat.
Poor form. Moving on then.
We need to move on because I remember that the last time we three met up, we had a long conversation in a pub about the five-a-side car. And I'm going to do the right thing here because I'm not sure you chaps can remember after the considerable beverage consumption that took place, but I actually conceded defeat.
I remember the whole conversation, John.
Excellent.
Because, I had to work the following day, so I didn't drink as copiously as you.
What a shame. Well, I actually conceded defeat in that pub conversation. I was under considerable pressure from you two to back down from the Marauder for reasons I can't honestly remember. And I remember saying that I would make a decision to choose one of your two vehicles instead. So I'm going to probably do that.
And the winner is irrelevant, because at that same pub evening, due to your general obstinateness, is that a word? Yes, I think we can roll with that.
Let's do it.
Due to you being a complete and utter pain in the backside, I decided to change my vote from my car to Ben's Dodge Ram.
You did.
So that would have given Ben 2 votes for the Dodge Ram.
Yes.
However, then you said that you'd change your vote to my car, the Alfa 159.
Yes.
Which then made me think, maybe I should switch back. But I'm a man of honour, so the Dodge Ram is the official Smooth Traffic five-a-side car.
Excellent.
Congratulations, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Ben. It's a very good suggestion, I have to say. And congratulations, Dodge. It's a very good suggestion, and I'm not completely against the Dodge Ram, to be honest. So, yeah. Dodge Ram, five-a-side car. It's in the garage. What's the next announcement?
Several episodes ago, we discussed the perfect car for taking your mother out to the shops / a small artisan bakery in Oxfordshire.
Yes.
Now, we put this to Ben's mum, Karen. Thanks for taking the time to consider our cars, by the way, Karen, and thanks for listening to our delightful podcast. I understand that the Morgan was immediately ruled out.
Yeah.
Because it was ridiculous.
Oh, that's ridiculous in the first place. How can you rule out the
quiet, John.
Okay.
Nope, you're done now. Okay. So, the choice came down to the Mazda CX-5 and the Honda HR-V. Ben?
Yep.
What was the decision?
I forget.
This has gone tremendously well.
It's such
what
a good
she said she
build-up as
wanted
well.
at the end. I forget.
So, essentially, because Ben can't remember what his own mother had said,
Yeah.
I'm led to believe that of the two, she slightly favoured the Mazda, but advised she would take neither, because the
I forget what car she
Kia Rio, complete with its 7-year warranty, gained her approval.
Basically, what I think we should do is award it to the Honda HR-V, purely because I drove one recently.
Yeah, and it's a nice car, to be fair, wasn't it? I think we'd agree it'd be a fairly sensible decision.
think we all enjoyed it, didn't we? We had a little trip out in it, and we've done some filming to be out soon on the Smooth Traffic YouTube account.
Plenty of boot space.
Plenty of boot space. Yeah, we've definitely put that to the test, and very comfortable seating, good ride quality, good engine, lovely gear change and position of the gear lever, good steering, great driving position, fantastic retractable large sunroof that we can peer out the top of like a couple of meerkats. It's a very good all-round car, really. I think that should be the winner on the basis that we've driven it all recently and we all liked it as well.
A full review of that car to come in the next episode, we should say.
Yes, I'll be talking about the Honda HR-V in the next episode of Smooth Traffic,
along with an exciting upcoming video of me climbing into the boot of said vehicle.
Yet again.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Let it never be said that Smooth Traffic doesn't test boot spaces properly. We do. Once again, the time has come. It's another round of the hit game show,
Deadliest Boot Spaces.
You might know what the score is by now. 6 litres of water, if you drink it, is enough to kill you. So with that in mind, just how deadly are the cargo capacities of a Morgan Plus 4 and a well-equipped horse?
What do you define as a well-equipped horse?
Well, this Horse King, I can see it right now. I've parked it outside my house. It's looking a bit fed up. It's got 2 saddlebags. And I also happen to own a backpack. So, when I actually take this horse to wherever it is you take a horse, I don't really know what you do with horses, it's going to have 2 saddlebags and my backpack. It's a very well-equipped horse. It's not a standard horse. I've actually spec'd saddlebags on this one. And I've gone for a nice chestnut brown colour as well, which is around £500 extra.
On the horse or the bags?
Both.
Ah,
Both. They
okay.
match. They match.
Are you going to have a rucksack on the passenger seat of the Morgan?
Ooh!
No.
No, it's boot spaces though, surely.
Sorry, out of interest, there's no boot under the front of the car, is there? It's completely engine at the front, isn't it? It's quite a long
Completely
car.
engine. Yep, completely
Christ.
engine.
There's bugger all boot space in that.
See, I don't think you could. I don't think you could even get a spare tyre in there. Hence, the spare tyre's normally on the back.
Yeah. I think you'd struggle to fit a big rucksack in the boot of one of those things. I'm tempted to go for the horse, as daft as that sounds.
What size are your saddlebags?
Well, I can't tell you on this one because I don't want to give the game away. There's no clues in this edition of Deadliest Boot Spaces. All I can
Surely
give
you can say small, medium, or large.
No, I can't. I don't have to. I'm the host. I can do what I like. This is meant to be Boot Spaces, and I've chosen a horse. I'm just.
Fine.
I just do what I like. I'm a rogue. Yeah.
As Ben's gone for the horse, I'll pick the Morgan begrudgingly.
Kingy has picked for the Morgan. Okie doke. So, the Morgan has, I believe, I think it's 102 litres of space.
You think?
I think. I might have forgotten to write it down.
This is lazy show business.
Lazy game showing, and actually, well, I'm a terrible host. Everybody knows that. But anyway, the Morgan Plus 4 will kill you 17 times. So 17 times the Morgan Plus 4 will kill you.
Yeah.
My well-equipped horse, complete with my backpack, will kill you 12 and a half times. So, Kingy, once
Yes!
again, congratulations.
Goodness
The
sake.
Morgan Plus 4 is indeed more practical and more dangerous than a well-equipped horse. So, if you're thinking of buying a horse with saddlebags and you've got a backpack, go over to Malvern, speak to the guys at Morgan. They can probably sell you something a bit more practical and better looking. And now for the scores. Ben Pearce, 1. Robert King, 3.
So, as you know, if you're a regular listener of Smooth Traffic, the Sotheby's auctions in Paris back in February, John had rather audaciously suggested that the Ferrari F40 that was on sale would go for... How much was it again, John?
I think it's like 1.25 million, I think I said. I said 1.25 million.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, he said if it didn't come in, we could give him a forfeit.
Hooray.
Now, Ben and I have thought long and hard about this, and it was only quite recently that we actually realised what the perfect thing would be, really, and that's thanks to John having a complete rant about Mary Berry.
Oh, no.
So, John's forfeit will be to watch one episode, maybe 2 if we're enjoying it that much, of Mary Berry's popular show, Mary Berry's Foolproof Cooking.
Christ.
We'll be watching this on the iPlayer, and John will be deprived of his phone and any other devices, so that he has to sit and watch Mary Berry's Foolproof Cooking.
And we'll film him watching it as well.
We will film it. Obviously, when we release the video, we'll probably time-lapse it a bit, just to the funnier moments. So, yes, that is your forfeit, John, to sit through an episode of Mary Berry's Foolproof Cooking, whilst Ben and I enjoy both the show and your uncomfortableness at being there.
Why couldn't it have been something like get a stupid haircut or a tattoo or something like that? Why do you have to make me do something as evil as watch Mary Berry? Why can't it be... They should call it Mary Berry's Foolproof Television Programme. Because then she would actually be forced to make a good TV... And I'm not going to get into this again, I'm not happy about this. But
the tattoo idea is a good one. We could have got you to have a tattoo of Mary Berry.
on the inside of my thigh.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't we think of that?
Too late now, chaps. Can't do it. Yeah, I mean, I hold my hands up. I made the big claim that the F40 would go for the money that it would. There was no reason why it shouldn't have gone for that money, except for the absolutely skint people at the auction who were not putting enough of their hard-earned billions into it. And I just got to take this one on the chin, or on the eyeballs in this case, and watch Berry do absolutely pointless things on the TV for a bit. I hate Mary Berry. Right, well that wraps up another episode of Smooth Traffic. Obviously, this has not been a particularly happy episode for me with the forfeit and all that. Once again, thanks very much for listening. Thanks for supporting the podcast. Thanks for all the recent followers for following and engaging with us on social media. Chaps, anything else to add before we make the big cut?
Just thank you for listening.
Yes. Thanks to everyone for listening. And thanks to Mary Berry for all the cakes.
For making such good, wholesome television.
Absolutely disgraceful. But we'll catch you on the next episode of the smoothest automotive podcast out there.